Good evening, good evening, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Beo Solo Talk, number 332. Uh, Willie is in, what's that place called again in Canada? Calgary. He was supposed to be back last Sunday, but he's still out and about. So instead of having nothing for 2 weeks, I thought, you'll have me. Also, a Q&A if anybody wants to question or questions answered to just about anything. We'll see how it goes. Let me know if the background music is not too loud. And yeah, let's also look at this new Beo composed thing and make some idiotic color schemes and maybe some pretty things. Who knows? Hope everybody's doing well. Oh yeah, got to do some shilling. You can go to Skinny Play, buy any of these, use the promo code to get 10% off. It's in the chat. Then the other one is the Greeno Studio if you want to buy anything here. Pretty sure, but let me know if you are going to order something that it's 10% off on every item, even if it's just one cover or stand or something like that. But that promo code is in the description box or in the comments. For some reason, we're still also on Twitch if you do not like YouTube. I've been saying for a while now that eventually we'll move to some other platform than Twitch, but I've been too lazy to do much about it at the moment. Yeah, if you have any questions, go for it. Again, highly would recommend these if you're so inclined. These are bloody gorgeous. Craig has the first question. Thank you, Craig. Good evening. I have a question. What's on your 2025 B&O wish list? Still thinking over the 9000 or something newer? I used to have a 9000. It's a glorious piece of art. I have a Beocenter 2 at the moment, and it's hooked up. I just don't use it enough, really. Would I take one if the price is right? Sure. Would I purchase the new version for that much money? No. I don't... My wish list is not necessarily personal, because I wouldn't necessarily know what to do with what at the moment, because my house is getting pretty full. And if it was all up to me, then yeah, the house would be full, but it's not all up to me, so there's that. I did not buy those 90s that are on eBay. Weirdly, they're eBay protected, but it feels like a scam. I guess you could try if you can. I don't know, email eBay, I guess. Would I go for some 90s? If the price is right, sure. But I don't really have any reason to at the moment. Or ever, really. Unless something breaks, I guess. So yeah, there's that. I mean, I wish they would bring out something more enticing than headphones for their 100th anniversary. I wish they would do something called a BeoLab Century or BeoLab 100. Be that above or below the BeoLab 90 is neither here nor there, but like something special. And quite honestly, I would hope that they don't wait until August to launch that. But if they do, I suspect they will. And then the first availability will be end of September, October, or something like that. So the 100th anniversary product will probably be in the 101st year, which is kind of strange. I guess they could also do a BeoVision century. I would love if they updated the harmony. I also would love if they updated the stage. Those are my wishes, really. I don't think you necessarily need to add many speakers to the harmony, but I would like it to be able to decode Atmos and like True HD and that sort of thing. Supposedly it's a software update, but I doubt they'll do it. It's for like DTS and stuff like that, even for the theater. Not that I use it much. I'm not personally impacted by it, but apparently a lot of you still have disc players. Getting Jeff Martin on the podcast should be on my wish list. Yeah, absolutely, but for reasons unbeknownst to me, that is really bloody difficult. And it's a company structure thing. Where, yeah, Christian is always welcome, but I don't think he wants to. But I would love to have him on. I would love to have Jeff on. I would love to have the CEO on. They're all very welcome, but it seems like there's processes and approvals to talk to anybody. And I don't know, if people have ever dealt with B&O, it's a lot of left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing, and you have meetings about meetings to have meetings about a meeting. So, yeah, I don't know how Mr. Anderson pulled it off, but he managed to pull it off. And I would love to have him back on, quite honestly, to just get an update on where software is and what the idea is. Because they have a lot of ideas. It seems like whenever they say this is the roadmap, even privately for 6 to 9 months, it takes 3 years. And there's probably good reasons for it, but yeah, I don't know. It's strange. G-Man asks, can the present stage be updated with software or components? By you? No. By B&O? Maybe. Software is not a thing that could get you surround speakers, if that's what you're asking. I think, and I have said that before, that they would need a whole new board for that. And it will probably be Mozart based, and you'll probably get BeoLink surround working on that. You get maximally 4 speakers. Probably they're gonna limit it to 2. Would I like that? Obviously. Will I think it'll be more expensive than the current one? Yeah, 2x, 2.5x. So you're probably looking somewhere in the region of $5,000 or so. I've been saying for a long time. I actually found it. The reason being, and this is a very old argument, but that you need a different DSSE board, essentially. And I still have one. Though this is from an Eclipse. Back from when I had my Eclipse. So this is an internal board from an Eclipse. If people want high-res images at some point, come join the Discord. Actually, I forgot to spam that. Come join our Discord. You want to have a look at how that looks on it, or if nobody's interested, then don't. But this is the internal DSSC board of an Eclipse, and so which were, I think it was the top ones were the only ones that were power link, and then these were the puck outs, and this is sort of how that packaging goes with the chips behind it, where this is, for instance, why the BeoConnect core only has one power link out, because they come in packages of 1 or 4, like here. So it is a bit strange and or different, and it's not what you think, where you just add an RJ45 port, because it doubles up on the chips in the back here. So it's not as easy as just plopping something on a board. So there's that. It's quite interesting to look at, really. I mean, lots of connectors and chips and things, but this is the old style magic in the Eclipse. So there you have that. Maybe I'll take some high-res pictures for next week once Willie is back. And we can, like, I don't know, take a deep dive on the silicon and that sort of thing. I have to get it back in the anti-static bag. Anyway, so I've been saying for, God, Eclipse days, right? Like, if you want a stage with surround sound, and if you want it to be wired, you're gonna need, like, at least that much of the board be added to it, which I think would impact, obviously, how you package it for heat purposes and power purposes, and that creates a different depth of soundbar. So at that point, you're probably looking at a different design altogether. If they do it a la the BeoConnect core and fully enable it, then it may be smaller, but I doubt at that point you'll have wired surround out, and if so, only one, i.e. 2 speakers possible. I mean, if people want to use it for a sub out, I guess you could, but price-wise, it wouldn't make sense if the subwoofer is the same price as the soundbar you're attaching it to. So I would suspect they either make something new or forgo subwoofers altogether, which is, I think, where they're heading. When all this Mozart speakers can go this low, they'll just say it's not necessary for when every speaker already goes down to 28, 27 hertz. And if you want more bass, buy 50s and 90s. Which you can see. Kabiza, yeah, I'll still make a house tour at some point. Actually, I bought a new camera for it, one of these gimbal ones, so you won't have my shaky hands. I'm getting used to it. I'm still making a video on the new BeoLab 8s and the covers and stuff. It's just, I'm getting used to a new camera, and so far it's nice. It's just, I'm inexperienced. So there's that. Yeah, this is the new B&O Composer thing. Pop that in chat. Just, is there a bunch of sound and stuff? Which are we going to start with? Yeah, let's start with 28s. For now, there's only two options. It's 28s and 8s. Let's start composing. As per usual, the website isn't very quick or responsive. There's a lot to load. Yeah, I'll do that next time. But for the people that haven't seen it. I wonder why they show BeoLab 50s, the bottom of it. When you can't do them. Wait, did I drop some connection? Yeah, it seems like it. And you can get everything pearl blasted. I think this anthracite pearl blasted would look quite interesting. But you can go for all sorts of things. Just about anything can be pearl blasted except for piano black for some reason. Let's make something silly. What is it? Do we like brown? In other words, do we not like brown? Yeah, that seems like a sufficiently awful color. Pearl Blossom Brown. I mean, we're gonna make it look like wood or something like that. I mean, there are absolutely some nice colors. The beach glass is a really nice color. Let's pick an outer cover. Let's go with some, I mean, wooden or brown and pine. Here we go with beach. This almost looks too nice. Let's go brown and lavender. Or green. Pink. No, we're gonna go for lavender. And then we get to choose our inner cover. This warm taupe. Nah, that almost looks like it's. What is Brazilian clay? Cool. Yeah, this is it. Lime green. What is golden knit? Sandthorn define. They have so many options. I would almost say these are too many options. Let's see. If anybody has any suggestions for color, let's hear it. Let's go for lime green. God, can you imagine having this at home? Let's put that on the wall bracket like that. Is that sufficiently awful? It's viewed as a set. Look, I guess if you are ultra eclectic, but and this just happens to fit your house for some reason, but I almost don't understand why you would allow this combo to be made. It's yeah, it's a thing. It's weird. Like, what are we doing? Gerard asks, can normal plebs buy Quadrat speaker cloth just like you can buy Quadrat upholstery cloth almost everywhere? I am not sure. I think you can email the company. I'm not exactly sure what the difference is between the regular Quadrat and the speaker one. I would assume they sell some of it, unless they have a license with B&O or something where you can't do any of this. Here, let's see. Max, what did you make? Yeah, that actually looks quite nice. I kind of like that. I mean, with this configurator, you can make really nice color combos, that's for sure. I mean, but you can also go insane and idiotic. So there's that. So let's make something my piece of art. Does that work? Barry, stupid or smart, add a BeoLab 19 sub. At the rear of a 7.0.4 using theater and BeoLink 5s as front, left, and right. No, you can absolutely do that. It's neither stupid nor smart. It's just your mileage may vary. I don't think there's anything wrong with adding a 19 to the back of a 7.0.4 setup if you have 5s up front. It's just the impact won't be as substantial as the 5s have, obviously. But you should be alright, and you should get a nice bass extension, though it shall be quite a lot more subtle. It won't be a mega wow effect, so to say. So if you have the money, why not? Go for it. Let's do some 8s. Especially with a theater, that'll be all right. Let's quick compose some 8s. Question about the function of the virtual channels in the theater. When do you use those? If you don't have actual speakers in certain positions, essentially. Like, if you have a setup like mine where essentially everywhere you go there's a speaker already, you don't use them. But if you have, let's say, the theater up front and something in the back, then you can absolutely make like surround heights or virtual channels of any sort, really. If you feel like you need like more filler here or there, or if you have 50s front and 8s back, I personally probably would only use the surround heights from the front, which is semi-virtual, but not really. But you basically have an amazing setup. You have no issue in wide disbursement with 50s already. Then again, it's all preference, right? So it's when you use it, the real answer is it's up to you, whatever you like. There's not necessarily a wrong way about it. It's just, do you like it? Oh, I wasn't done yet. Bloody hell. Charcoal stained oak. In real life, by the way, you don't really see these drivers this clearly. It can add some stuff from, but it's so dependent on your room, right? Like, in general, I would say it doesn't really add that much. Because you have 50s and 8s already, right? And you have the front up-firing speakers going. But if you have an oddly shaped room, let's say it's more triangular or more rectangular, you can make surround, virtual surrounds, right? Because, or virtual backs, stuff like that. But it's so dependent. Can it add some? Yes, but it's dependent on your room and how you have it it's kind of hard to say without knowing your place, and what it looks like, and what sort of fabrics and couches and stuff you have around. Would I necessarily go for it? No. Would I worry about it? No, not really. You can play with it. Just copy your current listening position over to a new one and add them somewhere. See if you like it. In the end, it's all if you like it or not. That's really the only thing that matters. Congratulations, KCBR. The 8s are actually quite really fantastic. I love this pearl blasted aluminium. But I also very much like these piano black ones, though I would go with a different cover. Which one? I don't know, with probably just about any situation use them this way. Unless you have enormously high ceilings. Yeah, this composer is new. Another thing, if you're more into the classics, look with oak, it's quite good. With light oak, it's quite good. Stan asked, just bought a theater and a pair of 28s, and I'm stuck deciding between a pair of balances or 8s for my rears. Personally, 8s all the way. You have more stand options, more ways of mounting them options. It's meant to do it, which does help. You have an actual power link connection, though the BeoLink surround works now. But you are much more dependent on a network than you would ever will be with a cable. And that's kind of the thing there. So I personally would say 8s, but there's nothing wrong with balances other than you can use them for it. It's just you're more dependent on, like, I would make sure you have a proper network, right? If you are using your local ISP provided router, 8 all the way. If you have a ubiquity setup, it kind of matters less. KCBR said, should I get floor stands or wall brackets? I'm still undecided. We're moving furniture for time, so wall brackets might be too fixed. You can get ceiling brackets. By the way, you can also order these wall brackets in whichever color you want. They don't have to match the speaker. In my situation, the wall brackets are the regular aluminium. The shell is anthracite, and then I have the Tigrino Studios aluminium covers. So they're basically this, but in nicer lighting on wall brackets, silver wall brackets. Personally, in terms of, I like this solution. This is very elegant. The table stand is sort of whatever, it works, I guess. The floor stand, yeah, that's a no for me personally. Not that there's anything wrong with it. I just really don't like how it looks. It's yeah. The floor stands for 17s are definitely too low for most situations, but they are much nicer looking. It's yeah, it's I don't know. This is not my jam. Like, I understand it's an option and you can cut it to length and that sort of thing, but I don't know. It makes it look like a very strange speaker. I mean, I guess if you put a couch in front of it, right? Like, it's kind of neither here nor there because you don't see it. But if you're gonna like look at this all day, it's yeah. I don't know how to pronounce your name. Smiloni? Smisloni? Let me know. Somewhere in the area. The composing price is probably the standard price plus 30 to 40% if you, but it depends on how, like if you go with the standard oak, right? Like that's the same price as the regular current listing price. If you go with a different color, it's just the color. If you go with something standard, like if you want this color, because this is something they haven't matched in yet, because you can, there is no reason why the floor stand must match the speaker color or the wall bracket or the ceiling bracket for that matter. Like, there is no reason why these two must be the same color. You can get this in any color that the composer lets you pick. So you could, if you wanted to go a bit more custom, have this like black and this bit being pink or lavender or whatever. Like, you could have this pearl blasted aluminium, this ceiling bracket, and have this, the speaker be pink or something like that. So you actually have even more options than they show you in this composer. So so if you like, for instance, this honey tone, right? You can have this in black or whitish. I mean, or if you like this color, you can have this floor stand in black, white, whatever. If you want more contrast. Personally, I don't think I like this honey color or whatever it's called. But I think it needs more contrast, like you get from like a darker cover. And I think this is almost too much honey like this. I would want this similar sort of anthracite contrast for the floor stand. Les asks, hi Michael, is there anybody going to visit Beano Denmark for the 100th anniversary? Yes, there is a Dutch group going. I think some people from BeoWorld are making a trip as well. I know I'm not, but for sure people are going. In our Discord server under the Dutch tab, I think people are chatting about it. One of the nicer things about that Dutch group that's going is that there are a bunch of former B&O techs that are in that club. I would say they specialize in everything before 1990. Which is quite insane. So if you have anything old that you would like the know-how of how to be repaired, I think the membership is like €50 a year or something like that. I mean, I know Steve joins them fairly regularly. I mean, nowadays you can just take a train. Yeah, €40 a year for Beo friends. And they have like repair days, and they'll teach you a bunch of things. And there's a lot of old knowledge there that, if you're not a member of this group, will just be gone forever in the next 20 years, probably. I still don't quite understand how this fabric cover is the same as this aluminium cover, but that might be me. I guess it's quite different if it's pearl blasted. Is it me, or does this look weird here, even in the... Like there's a definite cross in here. Because it's not... You want to have a spicy color. Sandthorn Define. Almond Beige No. Like some people said on the Discord, I am pretty sure this is more meant for your interior designer, so that they can give you ideas of what they are going to purchase in your name to put in your house. This Define fabric looks almost like it came from the Shape, because the Shape has a cover with these sort of I don't know, squares, though it's like left to right instead of up down. Funny that they have an actual black and then this. Like, I wish the actual black was the standard color. And if you want to go for the boating scene, the beach glass with teak. This is a bit too light unless you want to look at it on purpose. I don't know what the difference is between charcoal stained oak and black painted oak. There's next to no color difference in there. I guess the charcoal is slightly less shiny. Yeah. If going with wood, I would probably go for the teak. This looks nice. I do love this ceiling bracket. It's finally an equally nice ceiling solution. Not just wall, but actual ceiling solution. And the 8s are small enough that if you want an amazing sound system or surround system, you can have it all on the wall and have none of your floor space impacted, and have something on the ceiling that looks nice, like proper. I mean, in the US you would probably need to be on a stud, because I wouldn't trust just hanging it off a drywall, but maybe that's just me. But if you want your 7.1 with a theater, you can have 6 of these on the ceiling and a 19 somewhere in the room, and like besides the stuff on the ceiling of your theater, there's nothing visible. Which, to me, is an elegant solution. I think these actually these wall and ceiling brackets are a nicer solution than that they ever came up with for the 17s. I mean, the 17s work, don't get me wrong, but if you are going to see the bracket, this is a nicer bracket to actually look at. They have a Beosound 2 in this beach glass. I think, is it an Atelier one? And that looks really, really nice. It's a lovely color. I guess you could also go for the purple sand or pearl blast. Stan Cratcher. I guess I'm wondering why the 8s would be more effective rears when the balance is much more capable package overall. Sorry if this was already explained. I'm hopping in and out of chat. Yeah, no worries. I don't think I've explained that as in terms of the sound. Like the practicality of it is the connection, as in like you're comparing a BeoLab versus a Beosound. So you have power link, so if you want to wire it, that's much better. In terms of sound, a balance is probably more powerful, but it's also much more the Mozart sound signature. If you like that, go for it. Nothing wrong with it. But a lot of why the balance is so powerful is that it's more designed as a 360 speaker, right? Meaning it is meant to like be full power when it sits in the middle of something and no real walls around it. And that's when it uses everything. But when it sits next to a wall or in a corner, which is also the funny thing is in how you can beamform, because like it has, if you look at it from top down and imagine a cross, like you have front, back, left, right. And that's how you can say this one is on the right, so that side comes to me. But that turns off most of the other side, if not all of it. They're, in that sense, if they're on a cupboard somewhere, right? Placement is really easy. There's nothing wrong with going for balances. Absolutely not. You just asked, would you personally go for 8s or balances? And I would say 8s, mostly because they're made for it. Because, yeah, get a decent network going, like Ubiquiti or whatever, and you'll probably be all right. It's just, yeah, one is made for the job and the other one isn't. Though it will do yeah, there's not really a bad choice. If you want to save some money, or if you just prefer the balances, go for the balances. There's nothing wrong with that. Funnily enough, I kind of like this purple and pink combo. Though this peach pink is quite different than the honey tone. The honey tone is really nice. I actually don't mind the pink. It reminds me a bit of those, what were they, 90th anniversary editions? Bit lighter, bit more orangey, I guess. Was it the Love Affair color? Ooh. Bondi Blue. This one is on you, Australians. Apparently this is a... they associate this with you guys in Sydney. Let's see. Does this work with white? It's a bit better with white. But this blue is... huh. Very... huh. Bondi Blue was a color option for the old iMac G3. Interesting. Yeah. I don't know. I don't mind blue colors. Like, a lot of my living room is actually blue. It's just not this kind of blue. Yeah. Yeah. If this warm taupe is the same as the warm taupe that is on the BeoLab 50s, I will tell you one thing. This render is not accurate to the color in real life. Also, this Parisian night blue is quite a nice color in real life, but it looks almost a sort of charcoaly black with a slight purple hue in it, and it's kinda not in real life. I mean, this purple heart thing, I used to have that on my clips initially, and it's neither purple, it's more red brownish. It's I don't know, it's sort of the, it's gonna sound stupid, but it's sort of the color of blood that's drying but not dried. Where is that? Lime green. There you go. Have it be very loud and shouty. Kabir says it would be nice if you could change the color of the light in the B&O logo. To what? What would you change it to? Like, would you match it, or would you not? Or would you, like, make it, I don't know, Darth Vader red or something? Like, what other color than just bright white light would you do? I mean, this gold tone, let's see. So this is more like a picture of gold tone. You tell me how much that comes. It's not that far off anymore, but it's not the same. I mean, this is, I guess, one thing I've been harping on for forever, right? Like, I like these 3D models that B&O does. Don't get me wrong, I truly, truly do. But for a lot of their regular stuff that they sell, like be it 50s or, you know, I'll pull it up, or 90s or something like that. The color on the website is not accurate to the color in real life. Which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it is a bit I don't know, it's a bit annoying when you think you're selling it like this. Like, these 50s are pretty close. But this aluminium looks almost matte. And it's not. It's not. It's a semi-gloss with like a lot of sort of diamond polished swirls in it. Not that there's swirls, but it's sort of lightly scratched. And if it was a real photo, you would see that. I mean, to me, this looks almost as close as to like this is pearl blasted. See, this is a bit better, but it's not high resolution enough that you can see the sort of swirls, really. At least I can't, not on my screen. I mean, the oak is good enough, but it almost seems like... I don't know. To me, it seems like they could have just put some real speakers into a white box and take an actual picture of them, right? And not touch them up so much. There's no reason to. They're pretty. I mean, and if you look at like these anthracite ones, they can sort of look like this, but there's definitely a big light source projecting straight on them right here. Because you don't have this color gradation when light is from above or natural light is present at all. I mean, also, like, you see how, like, shiny it is up here. Like, this is the sort of semi-polish, which is actual. And here, it's like it's pearl blasted. Like, there's no reflection, no nothing. Like, that, and that it's just not real life. And I don't understand why they wouldn't just use an actual picture. And if it is an actual picture, it's way too touched up. I mean, maybe I'm nitpicking, but... I mean, again, this is literally projecting a light onto it, and it seems like it's artificial. But you would definitely see the light source if it was a real picture. I don't know, I just don't understand it. Why not use... And this has been a not to call it a problem is maybe overrated. The price is really the problem, but because have you guys loved the price increases? Like, holy moly. But yeah, it's... I don't know. B&O in their own website always looks way worse than it does in real life. And it's kind of sad because most of what they do looks really pretty. And I understand, like this. You can tell much more that this is a real picture of the piano black version. Because you see the gloss. You see how it is much more in real life. This is way less touched up. And if you have the ability to take these sorts of pictures, like, why is the product pictures, well, almost awful? I just don't understand. I mean, again, this is fake as can be. It may be real, but it's so touched up. It's like I've yet to see any LG screen that was this matte. How much is the jump from BeoLab 50 to 90? $100,000? Something like that? $107. Performance-wise, how much is the jump up? it's hard to put in like for most people 50s are your end all and be all speaker, right? Or good enough to be it. There is a level above it. 90s are in certain areas better than 50s, but also quite different. They have a slightly different sound, and that's partially because they don't have an acoustic lens like the 50s do, which does create a certain airiness to the tweeter that you kind of don't have with the 90s. It's if you have 17s around and 18s, they have the same tweeter, but one has a lens and one doesn't, and it sounds very different. It's neither good nor bad, it's a preference, right? In that sense, I think the 50s sound more airy in their treble, but also more neutral, because they're not as bass defined as the 90s. Though the 90s are very impressive in that way, and I'm not saying they sound bad anymore. Don't get me wrong. The 90s, if somebody would trade me 90s for my 50s, I would do it, even if I had to pay a little bit. But for general volumes of listening and the way I live, I think I prefer 50s. But that's for all sorts of reasons, right? Like they're smaller, they're easier to move. I think the 50s are prettier. These are really big, chunky boys. And while I like them, black is not my first choice for speakers of this size. And to get them in any other color, you're adding, what, 10 grand or something? I think if you want them in white, so this is not white, this is sand color. So this, I think these are currently the same price as the 50s, but if you want them here, Parisian Night Blue, the starting price all of a sudden is 203,000 X tax. And if you want white, I think you're roughly here, or you may be at 197 or something like that. In terms of sound, like, yes, they create more pressure, but yes, they go louder. Yes, they have more bass. But you're not lacking any of that with 50s, right? Like, the 50s will also make you deaf. It's not like the 50s are incapable. Like, I think the 90s max out at 128 dB, 130 dB, something like that. I think these max out at 120 or so. So you're going to go deaf with both of them. Do the 50s create the holographic 3D imaging the 90s are often praised for? If set up properly, yeah. I quite often can't tell if my front or my center speaker is going or not. And that is very much when you sit perfectly in like a triangle and have it all measured in properly. You only really start noticing that when you get, I don't know, like this far away from the theater. You definitely hear where stuff is spatially. I would say the 90s are a bit more laser-like, right? Like the 90s, I think we've said for years, like the 90s are sort of like you're being on stage with your favorite band and they're serenading you. The 50s are sort of like being at a concert of your favorite band in the first row. That's sort of, if I were to like put a tag on it, that's how I sort of would tell the difference. I mean, there's other things that so there's other things, right? Like just the sheer number of drivers that the 90s have to utilize. I mean, there's also other things that. So the extreme wide mode for 50s is a DSP thing, which works really well. The 90s work way more on the principle of like, I have drivers pointing there that are going to be on now. Look, if you want the best of the best, right? 90s are your way to go. It's not really a question. But they are 36 kilos each. They are 2.5x, 3x the price. I would say 90s are much more of a music speaker than of a film speaker necessarily. If you are very much into music and one chair, no friends, you will want the 90s if you have that sort of money. Then it'll be worth it to you. If you are more like me, and I use my system mainly for watching films and stuff like that. Like, I listen to music, right? But it's not like the 50s are in any way, shape, or form bad at that. But I also don't tend to listen to music in the same place. I tend to be doing something. Thunder says, I think your room size might matter between which of them as well. Not really. That's the funny thing, right? The only time your room size matters is if your room starts to get bigger than 10 by 10 meters or like 30 by 30 feet. Thereabouts. Because otherwise they adjust to your room. Both of them will. The 90s obviously do it slightly differently because they have more drivers. I mean, 50s don't really care for a room either. But it's more singular directionally, right? Like, 90s are omni speakers or have an omni mode that 50s just don't have. Will you ever use an omni mode? I don't know. How do you live? Do you have one of these hyper modern luxury homes where you have a TV in the middle of a room with speakers next to it and no wall behind it, or at least not behind it for another few feet or yards, sometimes even? In that case, 90s all the way, man. But if you have a more normal human house, you will probably never use the Omni. At least in my case, I would have, like, the Omni mode would be totally irrelevant in my living room. Because there's maybe one speaker that could use it, even if I had 4 90s, right? And otherwise it's useless. I mean, wide and narrow I could use all day long, but Omni is... I mean, Willie says Omni sounds good in its own way. Yeah. It's just, if you have walls left, right, or behind and right, or behind and left, or something like that, it's kind of pointless. It's the Omni mode is quite literally more meant for mansions. And mansions where you set it up in a non-classical way, where you have like a proper designer, where, I don't know, let's say you have that 40 by 40 foot room, right? And your TV sits on the floor. Actually, I think the perfect... I think B&O just on Instagram put that photo up. Why is... Why is Instagram search so awful? Here, this is what I mean. If you have a setup for watching TV like this, the back one over there with the 90s is superior if you want to, I don't know, entertain. This theater is leaning like crazy, by the way. Not good, but... Like, if you have a room set up in a similar way, right, and you want audio everywhere, the Omni mode in a room like this, yes, 90s. This is sort of the room that 90s are meant for, right? Like this, not exactly this sort of room, because I take this is some ballroom or train station or whatever it is, but a similar type of thing, right? Where your TV and or speakers are not in the classical sense pushed up against a window or a room or the door or walls or whatever. Yeah, the echo would be something else in here, but it is what it is. Are you not on your plane yet, Willie? Come back. Willie will be back next week. Wait, you're on the plane, Willie? Ah, waiting for takeoff. Oh well. You'll be home soon enough. Sometimes I think I have streamed before by myself. It's fine. It's just not normal for the BeoTalks. It's we'll be all right. Back to our regular scheduling next week. Maybe by then, finally have pushed this bloody video out. Anyway, yeah. I guess the final thing is with like 50s versus 90s, there's a difference in price these days that where I especially can't justify to myself the price cost differential anymore. It's I mean, do I really want to spend $180,000 on a set of speakers? I mean, for that money, right? Like, I can literally put another, well, 2 other sets of 50s and a theater in my bedroom. Jared asks, is the after party stream coming back? The problem for both of us is, right, like, that was a lockdown thing, and none of us had to be anywhere. And it was great fun, but if we were to do it again, let's say we do it on Monday again, that's in the middle of the day. Like, that would start at 2 p.m. for us. Like that, like you scarf down lunch and then go do this. Like, and if Willie has clients and whatnot, yeah, that's not going to work. If I have stuff to do, that's also not going to work. I could potentially do it at night, like 8 p.m. again, but local. But that's what, 4 a.m. in the morning for you guys? Or at least most of you guys? I mean, I don't think that interest would quite honestly be there. Unless you guys somehow decide to wake up at 4 a.m. every morning, go for a jog and that sort of thing. I mean, there's not really any other... There's not really any other time in the week or stuff where this just works. Let's get a calculator up. So 172,500 minus 65,000. Whew. And then let's do another set. So front and back 50s and versus one set of 90s. Let's add some TVs, televisions. Let's see, what would this compose yours? We obviously have to go with 77 motorized floor stand. I don't know. Let's do anthracite. Let's get quotes. Oh. Just give me the bloody price. Let's say add 5 to that for 77. So minus 2 5 0 5. So you have a TV on a floor stand, 77 inches, 2 sets of 50s. Let's add some more speakers. Let's see. Surely this will be. Oh, you can't even compose these anymore? So, let's say 7,500. So that's so for a set of 90s, you can have a Beovision theater with front 50s, rear 50s, and 4 BeoLab 8s, and still have $2,500 left over. Which would you rather have? This is going to be a poll. Which would you rather have? BeoLab 90s. Again, there's no wrong answer in this. Just, quite honestly, right? Like, it technically says you have $2,500 left over. But if you buy this much in one go, I bet you would get more of a discount than if you were to buy one set of 90s, honestly. I mean, is that really worth it to any of you? Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I mean, somebody will prefer 90s, no doubt. But then they probably would also buy a theater and other speakers with it. Like, best of luck to you, right? Like that'll be awesome. Like, I'm not downplaying that, but God, I guess I'm just not in that price category where I can justify that. Yeah, like maybe Max says, maybe you can get. If even if you say I'll pay retail, right? Like a theater with 4 50s and 4 8s, can you throw in a free set of other 8s? Like to make it a 7.1.4 system out the box, or well, technically 7.0.4 system. We'll probably say yes. I mean, you're quite literally what? You're spending retail $170,000 in one go if this is the the comparison, right? Like, whew. I mean, how many of you walk into a shop and spend 180 grand? Or 170 grand, which is including sales tax, probably 180. Do you do that often? Let me know. I mean, in the end, this is one of many reasons why I more or less ended up with the system I have, right? It's like every time I had a chance for 90s, it's just like, besides the financials, other things came in. Like, they're so heavy. And I knowing about moving internationally and thing with something that is so goddamn heavy. And then the financials, and then you get to the looks of things, and I mean, yeah, it's I mean, I know there's a kitty in it, but like, to me, a BeoLab 50 like this is prettier than a 90. And again, I don't dislike the 90s. I very much like the 90s in white and or that sand color. Absolutely. But that is so much more money for white. Like, white now is like, what, 15 grand extra again? Like, I'm not the biggest... I like him in black, but it'll never be more than like. Have a good flight, Willie. Yeah, so there's a lot of that going on. I like 90s. I love 90s in white. They're much smaller visually. But like, these are movable. I can move them by myself. 90s, you need a crew. Yeah, it's a different ball game. So yeah. Kitty the cat question, a bit subjective, but how good are 50s compared to 90s? Are they half as good, 75% as good? Look, it depends on what you do, right? Like, if you're watching movies, I would say 50s do 90+% of what 90s do. If you're purely listening to music, I would say it's about 75 to 80%. Part of that is preference. Like I said with the tweeters earlier, I prefer the airiness of the BeoLab 50 tweeter, which is a preference. That doesn't make it better, but it makes it better to me. You still have 17? Yeah, I seem to have all the 17s. I have 6 of them. Yeah. I didn't replace anything with my purchase of the 8s. I just added to it. So yeah, it's I don't know. If you have a smaller home, right? Like if I don't know. Let's say you have an apartment and you're the room you can put your stuff in is like 4 by 4 meters or like 12 by 12 or 14 by 14 feet, something like that. I actually think the 50s are better. Partially because the 90s are too big for that room. The 50s are too big for that room too, but like they're less too big. So there's a I mean, if you have I don't know, let's say you have 50 or 90s money to spare, but your living room is on the smaller side and like sort of boxed in, what I tend to see here in a lot of houses that are for sale. I think you are much better off buying a theater with a 19 and then like 8 8s. Where you just put them everywhere. You'll have the same sound coming from everywhere. You'll have a shit ton of bass for a room that size. And you have an easier placement time. I have a pair of 28s with the theater now, and 90s are way out of my budget. But at some point would love to get 50s as front and 28s as rears. Yeah, that's a good option. Go for it. Absolutely. I mean, by the time you saved up for it, there's probably some on the second-hand market. I have a suspicion that these B&O speakers, especially the 50s and 90s, will last for a much longer time than 5s. Because they're just built way better. But they're also not built so techy that a bunch of sources are built in and or dependent on that sort of shit. They're smart enough to be dumb enough to function forever, essentially. So yeah, there's that. It's all sorts of things, right? Like it's Willie says if it'll be the board's availability that will eventually EOL the speakers. Yeah, but they're remakeable. Also, if the 50s were to really ever go EOL, I would probably buy a set of spare boards, but I have a feeling by the time they actually go EOL, you could maybe potentially 3D print your own boards at that point. Because, like, that is advancing quite quickly. If anything, the boards will be easier to make now than they were when they were launched. Yeah, I mean, it's you can probably reuse or resolder a lot of the chips. It also depends on what breaks. Like, not a lot on it breaks. So, I mean, there's that. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't... like, the 5s aren't necessarily fragile because they last a long time. But I have a feeling the 50s and 90s are much less fragile than that. Same for 18s, 17s. It's that sort of generation, right, where we went digital but not fully smart. Unless you burn something out like the WISA receiver or something like that, there's not really much that goes wrong with 17s. Same for 18s. Like, these are launch 18s. They're fine. Never really been serviced or anything. And they solid as a rock. I mean, what's going to break in there? RSM GmbH Gebouwdienst just says how? 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 We're not big. Yeah, the 17s and 18s are dumb, but they were working perfectly. Look, the 50s and 90s are in many ways sort of dumb, right? There's nothing that smart in them. The stuff you need to be able to address, even if the company goes belly up or any of that sort, it's all local. You do not need outside connection for anything. That is not the same with more modern stuff like the Mozart platform speakers or like Sonos or something like that, right? Like all this stuff calls home for a lot of stuff. The theater does that as well to a certain extent, which is in many ways why the Harmony is a more stable product, because it's kind of dumb. But that's a good thing, because the smart bit is the screen, and you can replace the screen whenever. So yeah, I mean, anything with a Mozart chip in it, it calls home more often. It checks more often. There's more, which is a good and a bad thing, right? Like it creates more traffic and more congestion. And is it really needed? Do you really need sources in your speakers? Somebody decided you must. But this is in many ways why 50s and 90s are superior in my mind, because you can add a BeoConnect core and get all the same sources. But if for whatever reason, right, the Beosound core like that gets outdated, you get a BeoConnect core, you replace it. There's nothing fancy. It's literally click, click. That's it. And your speaker's up to date all of a sudden. Willie says, I don't see why there's such a need to report back to the mothership all the time. I would say the reason for that is if you're unsure about the stuff you did. And you need to check it, and you need to report back if you're not breaking things. It's I would see that as a lack of confidence, quite honestly. Carwatch, can a Harmony do surround sound with BO8 at the rear using wireless? Yes, absolutely. Jared says, after 10 years, internet connected speakers also need security updates. Exactly, that's also another thing, right? Like, are you gonna provide that forever and ever? I mean, you can put 50s and 90s behind a firewall and their operation is not affected at all. Like, you can just have them be on your local network to your app and not have any pinging to the outside. Yeah, thank you, Max. This is actually quite a good picture. And this is not even the selection I would necessarily go with myself. I would go with more 8s. Like, holy hell, this is a realization. Like, look, if I had, like, I don't know, 500 grand to spend in the next year, right? And I wouldn't care where it goes, but it would have to do my food and cars and stuff too. Sure, I'd buy some 90s. And I don't know, not go out to dinner so much. I would go to Applebee's or whatever the fuck. If I wanted to go out, or I... But since I'm not that, I know what choice I'm making. I mean, we're not to forget, right? Like, all three of these big speakers, like the two sets of 50s and the 28s, have also gotten crazy price increases. Just relatively not as nuts as the 90s. I mean, I remember when new 90s were, what, £70,000? And that wasn't even when they were new. I mean, I think they launched at, what was it, in pounds? Like £55,000 or something like that? Thank you, RSM. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them. You mean the only question so far I see from you is just how? So I don't know how what. Alicia Keys got rid of her 90s. Just found out. Oh, that's sad. Thunder says, anyone else having issues devices showing offline in their B&O app? Show online for one device. Yeah, weirdly, I'm not that affected. I mostly have that with headphones I'm using. Which is weird. Because they'll be on my phone, using them. Fortunately, my speakers in theater and all seem fairly unaffected, but I still can't get the proper pictures to show up. But whatever. How old am I? I'm nearly 40, and Willie, my normal co-host, is slightly over 40. I'll keep it at that. A lot of that, of your app connectivity seems to be dependent on... yeah, what kind of network you have. I run Ubiquiti, so... Les says, I bought all B&O pre-used from dealer. Yeah, that's another thing. Or Xdemo is great. Look, at these prices, right, 90s will forever be at best Xdemo, because no way in hell I'm getting them... quote-unquote new. It's just not unaffordable. Also, it would be problematic because at that point the insurance for the house would be higher for the stuff that's in the house than it is for the house itself. Which is I'm not sure our insurance company would actually go for that. When like the stuff in your house is of equal value or more value than the actual house itself. Have a good one, Willie. Have some poutine when you land. Yeah. So this is an apt example. Yeah. Then again, we're running out of dealers so quickly that I'm not sure Xdemo will be around forever, right? Because it all seems to be exclusive, and B&O owned stores will, I don't think, ever do Xdemo. They'd rather almost destroy it for whatever reason, or employee discount or stuff like that. It's, I don't know, I mean, the more B&O owned stores there will be in the world, the more we will all pay. Because B&O is of the opinion that if you're a whale of a customer, you just pay. So if you spend this much money, right, like no way we can give you a remote, you just pay. B&O will ship 90s to the store here on my island in Ibiza to do listening experience in my house. Really customer care. I'm even not a... Yeah, that's how it used to be everywhere. Hopefully, probably, your local Ibiza store, right? It is doing well enough that that is manageable. And even if you say for whatever reason, right, like, I don't want them, that the store says, we'll take them happily. And that's a good place to be. But not all places are like that. I mean, if you, I don't know, live in, I don't know, name a place, like 100 miles outside of Krakow or something, they're probably not going to do the same thing. There are reasons for stores to have 90s and not to have, like, I understand that your store doesn't want to pay for them, but they are like corporate benefits to it to have them. I.e., you go up in ranking with B&O itself compared to other stores, that sort of thing, right? Like you get preferred shipping over potentially other stores that are close to you that don't have 90s. You know how it goes. Like you scratch our back, we'll scratch yours, that sort of thing. I mean, it pays to be friends with friends in the end. I mean, if you have the money for 90s, I'm envious, and I would say go for it. Anyway, this is about it for a solo show. I would say come join the Discord. If you haven't yet already. I'll see you all next week with Willie, hopefully. And yeah, have a good one. See you next week. Bye.